Greetings everybody, this is Leviathan here, and today I am going over a build for you to utilize for the Thrill/Superhuman Conquest. As you can see on screen, we're on Diablo fans with their build creator, and a link to this specific setup will be in the video description, so if you want to refer to the written guide, you can definitely feel free to go ahead and hop down there. But in this video, we're just going to quickly cover what skills I put together, the recommended gear, and essentially talk about kind of the conquest itself, how to get it done, all that good stuff. So for those who are participating in Season 13 and in seasons past, you'll know that the Thrill/Superhuman Conquest is do a Greater Rift 45 with no set pieces at all. That means you can't have a single green item equipped. In the past, they used to let us do just no class sets, so you could have like focus and restraint, and then they made it so you just can't complete any set bonuses, but you could wear a set piece, and now it's just legitimately all legendaries that you have to have equipped. So if you see any green on your character, don't do that Greater Rift 45 because you will not get credit for a completion for the conquest. Quickly, let's do the skills. We have Evasive Fire with Focus. This is a multi-shot build essentially, so I'm doing this specifically for the Demon Hunter. Any class can do it. I'm going to assume that, there's a build out there for every class. If you need me to cover something for another class, feel free to ask in the comments below. I can definitely give you one for the Crusader. I would have to do some research for the others, but any class can definitely do this. I mean, it's Greater Rift 45, which I believe is the equivalent of about Torment 10. And with the amount of power that they gave us in patch 2.6.1, it's out of control. Like, all you need is really a few good legendaries with multipliers on them, and you're off to the races. So with this setup, we're going with multi-shot, and we have Yang's Recurve and Deadman's Legacy really being the workhorse, the crux of our damage output for this. So it's a Fire Multishot build. The skills will be Evasive Fire Focus, just to get your hatred back when you need it. Multi-shot Arsenal, which is the workhorse of the build, where all the damage will come from. Vault with Trail of Cinders. We're going to be using a Cinder Coat, so this will have a reduced cost for us. And in general, this is going to be our mobility skill to move around. You can also use a Elusive Ring, and Vault will give you the defensive bonus. We have Preparation with Punishment, another source of getting hatred back quickly. Since this isn't an Unhallowed Essence build, we don't care too much about maintaining all of our discipline. So if you vault around, if you find that you're a vaulter that uses vault a lot, then maybe you want to switch this back to Invigoration, and then get your discipline back. But for the most part, Preparation should be useful since you'll just be able to spam multi-shot non-stop. Companion Wolf, this will be probably used on cooldown. You can just pop it and do a lot of damage. Maybe you want to save it for the elites, because now that we don't have a set helping us out with our damage, the elite fights will take a little bit longer. But for the most part, you'll have a high uptime on this because of a couple of things that we're doing with our cooldown reduction. And then Vengeance Seethe, a pretty solid staple for Demon Hunters. You always have a Dawn in the cube to get that huge cooldown reduction on Vengeance. And then when you get to that 37% of cooldown reduction on your character sheet, then you'll have 100% uptime on Vengeance. Vengeance boosts your damage. It gives you back a ton of hatred with the Seethe rune in particular, and then we also have a Visage of Goons in the build, so you'll be able to utilize that for some defense as well. And then the passives, Ambush, just a lot of damage up front. You can potentially replace this with Steady Aim, but we'll also be using a Hellfire Amulet, so you might get Steady Aim on your Hellfire. There's a ton of great Demon Hunter passives, so you have a lot of choices here. Ballistics to help out the rockets that we're firing off with the Arsenal rune of multi-shot. It does a ton of damage. Like, you do not want to skip out on ballistics. It really helps you, especially on the Great Rift Guardian. Thrill of the Hunt and Cull the Weak, these two are always combined together. Thrill of the Hunt will make it so that you slow the enemies when you hit them with a spender, which you will be with multi-shot, and then Cull the Weak when enemies are slowed, which Thrill the Hunt will do for you, and then they take extra damage. And we also have a Bane of the Trapped in the build as a legendary gem, so you're getting a lot of synergy there. So that's it for the skills. On the gear, you can see there it is, all brown. All those beautiful brown items. No green. Remember, no green. For all the items, a lot of the slots are just going to be fillers. You don't really care what you have there, but it'll be nice to have something useful there. So for instance, like Pauldrons of the Skeleton King has a potential to give you a cheat death. You probably won't be dying, because I found when I did this that I was honestly pretty tanky and just needed more damage. But you know, it's an item you can get from the Act 1 bounty caches for doing the Horagic cache, getting all your bounties in Act 1. If you don't have that, you can go with a Deathwatch mantle, which I recommend. You can go with a mantle of channeling. Like, there's so many random shoulders. None of them have great impact on the build. The Visage of Gunes, like I was mentioning, does give you that Dark Heart rune for Vengeance, so that gives you the defensive portion whenever your Vengeance is on, and you should have 100% uptime. I also do recommend you can use a Leoric's Crown, which will have in the cube or wearing. You'll interchange these two essentially based on if you have a good one or if you don't have one in general. Leoric's Crown will usually go in the cube because it has that range on the power. If you get 100% on the power, then it boosts your diamond that you would be putting in the helm further, and therefore you'd be getting a lot more utility out of your CDR requirements. Hellfire Amulet, like I mentioned, is really useful. Really great passives on the Demon Hunter, so being able to just get a free passive is not bad at all. You should go for one of these if you can. If you can't, just any random amulet with good critical hit damage, critical hit chance will do. And a socket, of course, to put a legendary gem in there. Cinder Coat, like I mentioned, this is definitely a requirement since it is a fire build. This will reduce the cost of our fire skills, allow us to spam multi-shot a lot more, and it also comes with fire damage as an affix, a primary affix, so you'll get that boost to your fire elemental skills, which goes right into multi-shot. The same thing on your Nemesis Bracers. I recommend these just because you will get pylons throughout the Greater Rift. You can produce some more elites to help you finish the Rift quicker. Here it's the simple standard stat priorities of fire, dex, vit, critical hit chance. Just want to boost that critical hit damage more. If you're playing hardcore or you're wary of your defense, you can swap those for Wraps of Clarity just to get the defense from that legendary power, and it's a lot better in 2.6.1. It's up to 50% for the damage reduction there, so really nice from that one piece. Mage Fist definitely required because you can get more fire damage. Are you seeing the synergy here? More fire damage coming out of the gloves, so that's really great. And then standard gearing, you know, maybe dex, critical hit damage, critical hit chance, CDR. If you're meeting your CDR requirement, you can swap that to maybe attack speed or area damage or whatever the hell, vitality, whatever you need. Waste the belt. Witching Hour is going to be your best offensive option. You can also go with the Hunter's Wrath, which might be a little bit easier to find a good version of, but in general, either of these will do. Witching Hour is just going to give you that ton of critical hit damage on it and a little bit of extra attack speed. You know, Dex and Vit, you're good to go. The pants are another one of those slots where it really doesn't matter. You can have Poxfalds, Depth Diggers, maybe when you fire out your generator, it does a little bit more. But for the most part, neither of these are all that impactful. Just get some good pants that have Dex, Vit, all res, and sockets, and make sure you put some emeralds in there. Same for your Cinder Coat. For the sockets in there, I'm throwing in emeralds of the highest level that I have. For boots, kind of similar scenario. Don't really care what you have on the boots. Firewalkers is a nice synergy with the whole fire thing, but it's not required. Whatever good boots you find, you can just throw on. Just have Dex, Vit, all res, and a multi-shot skill on this one. And just to go back, because I did forget the stats on the helms, that's another spot where you can get multi-shot as a skill. So you would do something like Dex, critical hit chance, multi-shot, and a socket on the helm. Something to keep in mind. For the jewelry and the rings, we're looking at Convention Elements. Definitely a super useful one to have, because during that fire rotation of Convention, you'll just have ridiculous output for your multi-shot, and it's all about boosting the multi-shot damage. Like I was saying before, Elusive Ring to get that defense in there if you need that. And Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac can be interesting because you can fit that in, and then you're firing multi-shot all the time, so you're going to get a lot of your cooldowns back. You'll be able to spam a lot more Wolf Companion. You won't have to worry about hitting exactly 37% CDR for your Vengeance uptime. So it might be something to consider, but it's not a requirement by any means. And the two other required pieces, Yang's Recurve and Dead Man's Legacy, both of these have big multipliers to your multi-shot damage as a legendary power now, so you want to get as high to or as close to that 200% on the legendary power as possible on both the bow and the Dead Man's Legacy. If you can get an ancient bow, it will help you even further with getting this GR45 done, but both of these are super duper important. Stats on rings like critical hit damage, critical hit chance, CDR, etc, etc. Sockets, of course, for your legendary gems, which we'll talk about in just a second. And the Yang's Recurve, Dead Man's Legacy, damage percent, dex, attack speed, socket with the Ramalani's gift if you can get one. All those will go a long way. And you don't need to worry in this about having discipline on the secondary because we're not using the Unhallowed Essence set. But if you want to maintain sort of like, you know, use these once you're done with this conquest to then go into Unhallowed Essence, then make sure that you have that discipline as a secondary affix on both your quiver and your bow. And on the bow or on the quiver, dex, critical hit chance, CDR, multi-shot, any of those things will be really good. It'll be really hard to itemize one that has all those things. So you might take like a dex vit, critical hit chance, CDR, or, you know, instead of CDR, a multi-shot, etc. All those will go a long way to helping round out your build. I did say I was going to mention the gems, so here they are. Bane of the Trapped, standard DPS gem, one of the best ones in the game, if not the best one. Zai's Stone of Vengeance, which is great for range builds, which exactly this is. You're going to stay at range and shoot off a bunch of multi-shots. Zai's going to be great to synergize with that. And then Bane of the Stricken, you can swap this for Bane of the Powerful if you so choose, but I found that if you're kind of not having a high level Bane of the Powerful, first of all, and then second of all, if you're taking a long time with your fights because you don't have a set to boost those damage numbers through the roof, then maybe your Bane of the Powerful is going to fall off. And if you don't have reliable uptime on your Bane of the Powerful, then a Stricken will go a long way because you'll always be benefiting from getting those stacks up. And if you get it to rank 25 against a boss, you're going to just do a lot more damage, and that'll help easily get your GR 45 done. So couple options there, but I think those are the three best for this conquest. And then for the cube, Dawn, Leoric's Crown, S of Johann. I've talked about both of these already, the Dawn and Leoric's Crown. S of Johann is just in there to kind of help you group mobs up. This slot is super open. You can put anything you want in there. Like I was saying, maybe the Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac you go with, some other like immunity amulet, or I don't know, anything really. There's nothing that's too great there, so it kind of, you know, S of Johann just makes maybe the most sense from a utility standpoint, but anything else you need can go in there. And then the rest of this guide is just a written version of what I've spoken to you about. The last part of what we're going to do here though is go ahead and get you a video of my clear of this from the season, and this was season 13 at the beginning. And let me mute myself. Season 13 in the beginning, you can see around Paragon 500. I have a version of this build that I recommended. It's not exactly the same. The one that I have put together on Diablo fans is like the optimal version. The one I'm using is just like I wanted to get the conquest done as soon as possible during the season, so I went with what I had. But as you can see, even without the optimal version, we're destroying this rift, like absolutely destroying it. And you're like, you don't even have any progress yet, but like just look how quickly everything is dying, and that's the way it will go. The only other things to maybe mention are that your follower, it would be really nice if you can get a follower can't die token to keep your follower alive, and then put an Oculus ring on the follower so that whenever you get a kill, the Oculus ring circle will pop up, and if you stand in that, it'll help boost your damage a lot. And that's another thing that can get you through the conquest very easily. So there's pretty much nothing else to mention here. If you do have any other questions, concerns, comments, etc., feel free to hop down into the comments and leave me one. This is part of our multi-shot series that we're doing here on the channel, essentially giving you as many ways to utilize multi-shot, whether it's in Unhallowed Essence or for this conquest, or just multi-shot mechanics in general. We're going to be producing a lot of videos and content around that. I got great response to the last video I put out, which was my GR 100 from earlier in the season 13. So we're going to keep going with it, and hopefully you guys will let me know what you're enjoying, what you're looking forward to, stuff that you want to see, content that we can produce, because we have a lot of time now since Diablo 3 is kind of winding down, so we can really produce whatever kind of content we want. Let me know, and hopefully you enjoy this. Let me know if you use this and you're successful, if you changed anything, help each other out, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll leave you with this clear on screen. And take care until next time. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any of the videos that I just mentioned will be coming up in the near future. Adios for now.